As the first season of The Rings of Power comes to an end, things are starting to heat up. With Halbrand's deception exposed, we're finally on our way to Mount Doom! The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, a massive new fantasy series based on J.R.R. Tolkien's books, was released in September 2022. The 8-episode drama brings the heroic legends of the fabled Second Age of Middle History Earth to screens for the very first time. The epic drama transports viewers to a period in history when great powers were created, kingdoms rose to glory, and fell to ruin. Unlikely heroes were put to the test, and hope hung by the thinnest of threads. It also shows a time when the greatest villain arises from Tolkien's pen and threatens to wrap the entire world in darkness. It takes place thousands of years before The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. The first season of The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, ingeniously and thrillingly brings J.R.R. Tolkien's world to life. This series goes all the way back to Middle-earth's Second Age, rather than retelling stories that fans are already familiar with. From this point on, The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power establishes the foundation for a grand story involving a sizable cast and a dozen or more different locations. The series relies heavily on original content and has undergone numerous significant changes due to its significantly limited source material. As a result, we have a very complex television season. We have finally arrived at the great Episode 8 of our time, with so many characters, narrative threads, thematic elements, and locations woven into its glittering tapestry. With this eagerly anticipated finale, the first season of Rings of Power ends. How long we will have to wait until the Season 2 premiere is the obvious question that many fans have, as Season 1 comes to an end. Whether you love it or hate it, there are still a lot of unanswered questions as this story moves into its second batch of episodes. The good news is that we're already receiving updates on Season 2's production, even as the dust settles from a busy Season 1. Although the prequel series' debut was long overdue, The Rings of Power Season 1's premiere on Prime Video on September 1st with the season's first 2 episodes was well received. For a frankly unbelievable amount, Amazon purchased the rights to Tolkien's works in 2017 and started developing a television series with a potential 5-season run. The COVID-19 pandemic delayed the start of the television series production, which is now known as The Rings of Power. The 8-episode season finally finished filming in mid-2021, and it debuted the following year as the most expensive television program ever. Showrunner McKay teases a potential date for The Rings of Power's return for those who are already looking forward to it. Giving a behind-the-scenes tour of the production, McKay provided an estimated release date for Season 2, saying that it might take, quote, another couple of years. The Rings of Power's subsequent seasons will undoubtedly be produced more quickly than Season 1, because the crew will have a larger production base, but the show's epic scope will still require a lot of work to produce. With its record-breaking Season 1 viewership, The Rings of Power has set a high bar for itself. Season 2 will need to find a way to not only maintain, but also grow that audience. However, given how much emphasis is placed on the visuals and how long it takes the team to produce the amazing effects we see in the series, this is unlike any other television series. Season 2 could be released as early as 2024, or sometime in the middle of that year. But we would have to wait a very long time for it to do so. Because of its multi-season format and prequel setting, The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power has the chance to bring some characters to life that previous adaptations of J.R.R. Tolkien's work couldn't. The Rings of Power introduces a wide variety of heroes and villains with significant roles to play in the future of Middle-earth, including men, elves, dwarves, and Harfoots. The main cast of Season 1 includes actors like Morpeth Clark as Galadriel, Cynthia Addai Robinson as Meriel, Markella Cavanaugh as Nori Brandyfoot, Robert Aramayo as Elrond, and Ismael Cruz Cordova as Arondir. Therefore, all we can do is hope that there won't be too many tragedies and that the majority of the Season 1 cast will return for Season 2. Before we go any further, we wanted to let you know that it's time for you to smash that like button if you haven't done it already. Well, J.D. Payne claims that the second season of the Amazon series will introduce one of Tolkien's most knowledgeable and beloved elves. Even though Payne hasn't revealed who will play Círdan in the Rings of Power, the confirmation of his role is still intriguing. The involvement of Círdan in the Rings of Power Season 2 may also enable a long-held fan theory about the highly anticipated prequel series. The Rings of Power's first season had a lot of work to do setting up its characters and scene, but the second season has a lot of room for development. With Sauron having found his way to the newly formed Burnt Lands of Mordor, he will most likely begin work on the fortress of Barad-dûr, and there will most likely be a focus on his rise to power. In addition, there are a number of other storylines and teases that need to be addressed, including the journey of the wizard, the reawakening of the Balrog, and the creation of additional rings. The Rings of Power finally confirms what many suspected as soon as Charlie Vickers' character revealed himself. Halbrand is Sauron, thanks to a sneaky fake-out involving the Stranger. Sauron has taken on a human guise after recovering from Adar's assassination attempt, and his full arc in the Rings of Power Season 1 must now be viewed with suspicion. With the overarching goal of reaching Celebrimbor in Eregion and initiating the forging of Middle-earth's Rings of Power, Sauron appears to have manipulated events to his advantage throughout the season, from carrying the sigil of the Southlands to feigning an injury that could only be healed by elven hands. The fact that Sauron was actually Halbrand was a real surprise. To pick up every hint, I'm gonna have to rewatch the season again. Even though Sauron is a master manipulator, I'm not sure how he got onto the raft. He saved Galadriel, but was it pure chance? Then he used her to get to Celebrimbor and Eregion. I'm not sure why Galadriel kept Sauron's identity a secret from everyone. That is a piece of information you immediately reveal. In the Rings of Power, Sauron believes he's the good guy, waxing lyrical about how he longs to heal Morgoth's wounds. Galadriel realizes right away that Sauron is only concerned with Middle-earth's recovery if he finally succeeds in establishing his rule. Even after his schemes prove successful, Sauron still tries to tempt Galadriel with a spot by his shadowy side, suggesting that despite all the lies he has told throughout the Rings of Power Season 1, his interest in Galadriel may actually be truthful. Despite the fact that Daniel Wayman's Stranger is initially mistaken for Sauron, this proves to be a very unfortunate instance of Maiar's identity confusion. The Dweller learns that Sauron, the person she is dueling, is either an Istar or a wizard. The Istari are Maiar spirits, like Sauron, but they have taken on human form and have been sent by the Valar to battle evil rather than create it. Like Sauron, the Istari arrived in Middle-earth with limited abilities and hazy memories. The Rings of Power strongly implies that Gandalf is their stranger. The honorary Harfoot tells Nori, quote, "Follow your nose," which is the same advice Gandalf gives to Merry in The Lord of the Rings.
Always follow your nose.
As his memories begin to slowly return in the closing moments of the Season 1 finale. The Stranger provides an additional clue by transforming the Dweller, Nomad, and Ascetic into moths during their conflict, alluding to the insects Gandalf communicates with in The Lord of the Rings. And because of that, you need to smash that subscribe button and notification bell so you'll never miss any of our videos in the future. And as Charlie Vickers Halbrand approaches Mount Doom's lava-spewing mouth in the final frames of Season 1, we can expect much higher stakes in Season 2. The real fight is about to start. See you in the next video!